it's a space where everyone is free to learn, exchange knowledge, and explore new things. Very happy to be here and be part of the launching of Foundree. Tonight we are launching Foundree, a progressive learning center for architecture and the built environment. As you can see, they have murals of our famous architects here and abroad and their famous works as well.
Today, we experience the fruit of the collective effort, the collective blood, sweat, and tears of people who we have affinities with. In Foundree, we share a mission and vision of uplifting Filipino architecture and design through progressive education.
At Foundree, we believe that we need to make that connection. That it doesn't start, it doesn't end with the board exam. Getting the license is just the start of a new journey. And that's why at Foundree, we believe in that we need to keep on learning.
It is built on a strong foundation of service that permeates every aspect of this learning center. From every corner of this room to the literal writings on the wall.
Eventually be gone, but its radiant light will continue infinitely when its light is shared and passed on. We hope you'll make yourselves comfortable here at Foundree, and thank you very much. Thank you so much, everyone.
firstly, good afternoon. Thanks for spending your Thursday afternoon with us. And we promise that you're going to learn a lot from today's speakers because these are guys that I respect very much. And of course, they've competed in behalf of our country at the world stage. But before that, I just want to talk a little bit about what BABBLE is. So BABBLE really is a series of talks on contemporary Philippine architecture, arts, and design, which started as a learning platform within our office. So regularly, we would actually invite different architects who have learnings from the different projects that they handle to share their experiences to the rest of the firm so that there's a more efficient kind of transfer of knowledge so that the mistakes that, let's say, we make in one project may be lessened or minimized or totally skipped, no, in the other projects that we handle. So because, it really emanated from this culture of learning that we kind of developed over the years, because I think it is one of the key ways for us to keep on progressing, to keep on advancing, is that basic belief that you will never really know everything, and so you always have to be in this disposition of constant learning. And as mentioned, BABBLE is really in the intersection of learning, progress, and of course, one of our advocacies is to kind of develop or find new ways of expressing or manifesting our non-tangible, aspects as Filipinos in architecture and in the built environment. And in the intersection of these three, hopefully there is a discourse that will happen, that will inspire all of us, that will move all of us towards designing, building, contributing to a better environment, towards really this positive change. So I do encourage everybody to engage with our speakers, send over your questions through the chat box, because that is, as Gerard mentioned, the point of today. So that aside from you learning from them, us learning from them, I think we would like to also learn from all of you as well. So please join our community. So it's in Facebook, Contemporary Philippine Architecture, Arts, and Design. So for that to happen, we also kind of pursue this idea of cross-pollinatory creativity. And that's where BABBLE is. It's an intersection between architecture, design, and the arts. And what we do is we invite different speakers from all of these fields, so that we can learn from sometimes outside of our environment, so that we can import it back to the fields of influence that we exist in. And so just a quick rundown of BABBLE. We started in 2015 for our first public BABBLE in a small coffee shop in Makati. Following the year after that, also in Makati. But then we started to invite speakers from different fields, like Vince Lim from landscape architecture, Chris Abrigo in the arts, Rick Gindup for branding and identity. And then the year after that, we talked to Team Manila, represented by Joey Alviar. And then, of course, the dynamic duo of interior design, Ivy and Cynthia Almario. We invited a very prolific and well-known sculptor, Daniel de la Cruz, to have a conversation with us and his creative process. The year after that, in 2018, we held it in BGC, in Mind Museum, inviting Aaron Palileo of Bootleg Innovation and Design. So he specializes, and their group specializes in creative strategizing for enterprises and businesses. Chat Forrest talked about her projects, mostly the very luxurious interior spaces that she designs for various developers. Mike Constantino spoke about sonic identity and how it contributes to the experience of a space. And Edwin Uy spoke about design authenticity and experimental architecture and design. And then last year, 2019, we held it in PETA. That was our biggest and most exciting BABBLE. We had Gabe Mercado speak about improvisation and how it can be applied in the corporate setting and even as part of design thinking. Bambi Manyosa spoke about awit at Alero. Jingoy Buensuceso, who is the famous sculptor, very prolific as well, and how he's crossing over to the different fields of architecture and interiors and industrial design. And as our keynote speaker, Joseph Javier, spoke about the design of purpose and how it can be used to transform not only the users of architecture, but also the community that it exists in. No? And it was the first Babble wherein we allowed different fields like music and performances to be integrated in the entire experience. So we were surprised by Bambi Manyosa with a performance by Bullet Dumas and Joseph La Chica, who was doing some interpretative dancing while Bullet was singing his contemporary version of Jack and Boy. And then we also held Babble in Foundree. That was our first collaboration with Foundree. Bach, who is going to be our speaker today, was also a speaker at the time, along with Benji Mendoza of Baad, Choi Funk of Atelier Funk Architecture, and Sudar Kadka of Eye Insight. And last year was when we started partnering up with different entities. So we partnered up with Spam Talks, as well as SKS, which is, I guess, a finishing hardware construction supply chain in Davao. So we flew over there and shared a little bit of our thoughts. We also partnered up with A&DDO ba yun? I think it's A&DDO, which was held in CDO, spearheaded by Edwin Uy. And then this year would have been our biggest Babble. So we were, set to plan and hold it last September 4. But then, of course, the pandemic happened. And so we were excited sana for that, because it would have been this kind of cadence wherein you have talks, you have a panel discussion, then you have musical performances and dance performances all in one kind of festival. But that didn't happen, and so we kind of spun it off to Babble Live in the first part of the lockdown. And of course, it's still up on our Facebook page should you want to review and listen to it. So very interesting topics as well. Which lead us to today, our partnership with Foundree. As you know, we have a culture of learning in the office, which we share with Foundree as well. Today is the second of 3 installments of Babbles that will be held in partnership with Foundree. The first one was New Praxis, wherein we invited these young new practitioners, tried to understand their agenda with architecture and their own practices. And today is the first of 2, wherein we invited these architects to speak about their experiences when they competed at the world stage in the World Architecture Festival. All of these leading up to the main Babble, which will be held on October 2 and 3 in partnership with the Design Center of the Philippines under the DTI as a satellite event of the International Design Conference this month and Design Week Philippines in October. Actually, we didn't plan for this to happen, but then 3 weeks ago, we had an accidental bump into the head of Design Center of the Philippines and really encouraged us to push through with the Babble, no matter how small it is, or even if it is going to be just a virtual event. So please book these dates if you're free, because we're going to be speaking about this idea of past forward, an ongoing story of Philippine architecture. All of the speakers will talk about the past, the present, and the future of Philippine architecture. So architect Edson Cabalfin will be speaking, myself as well, Dominic Galicia, and Carlo Calma, moderated by architect Miggy Limhenko. Which leads us to today's event. The world is our stage. So I'm just going to read up the write-up. No? So basically, one of Foundree's dreams is to help advance Philippine architecture community to produce excellent work that can even compete at the world stage. So we thought, what better way to learn how to do so by inviting people, architects, these guys that have graced us with their presence today, to share their experience when they were the ones who were there competing for our country at World Architecture Festival. So as you know, World Architecture Festival is like the Golden Globes, no? Or the Oscars of architecture. And they were shortlisted to represent not only their firms, but of course the entire country. So today we'll be hearing from Baxia of Zubu and Design Associates from Cebu, and Jesy and Jaemi Cruz from Alero Design Studio. I'd like to turn over back the screen to Gerard to introduce them.
Okay, so thank you so much, Architect Jason. So to introduce our first speaker for this afternoon, they found the team founded in 2010 by the principal architect Bach Richnold Sia of Zubu Design Associates is a Cebu-based progressive architecture and design studio. Zubu values the evolution of architecture, generating progressive and innovative design solutions while respecting the lineage of history either by evolving or challenging what has been done before. Zubu is an expanding team of professionals committed to providing uncompromising quality of work and process-driven solutions conceptualized through a collaborative and engaging design culture and justified with a high technical details to make construction more accurate and efficient. Since the inception of Zubu Design Associates, the firm has undertaken a wide range of projects ranging from residential projects, hotels, commercial buildings, commercial interiors, restaurants, clubhouses, resorts, and many more. So our first speaker is Architect Baksia. Hello, Architect Bak.
Hey, my staff's clapping behind. Okay. Thank you for having me again, guys. Always great to share. Always great as well to have this conversation with everyone. No, we had a great first talk last Sunday. It was a very insightful one with I wouldn't say the next. These are current practices. Maybe they're a tad younger than us with Jason and I and Gerard, but exemplary work as well. And you really see that it's really about the process, and there's really something that you can really add value to design or to the profession. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. All right. Okay. Anyone? You can see, no? Okay, let me just set up my. All right. So Zubu Design Associates I've been in the practice for the past 15 years. It was formally established 2010 as the word Zubu Design Associates. And it's very fitting when we relate this to the topic in terms and towards the world stage. Because Zubu Design Associates was really a homage of how we can be as Filipinos or us as locals, that we do have a voice, we do have something to share. Despite all I think it's been more optimistic lately, but we always had that complex insecurity of what Filipino architecture is. That's there all the time. And there's almost so many complaints about it. Who are we? And I always want to go back to say that who are we are us in terms of what we do as creatives, us as we do in terms of how we evolve our agendas. And that's something that is a homage because Zubu is actually a former name of Cebu. So I really wanted to celebrate Filipino. I really wanted to celebrate my lineage and how I want to promote for myself first to the client, and of course we can inspire others from our fellow colleagues and then towards the world. Okay, we usually start with this specific question: and how do you want to contribute? Hang on, sorry. I'm trying to change my. Hang on, let me just change my. All right, okay. How do I contribute to the tenets of modernism? And this was very strong for me, especially starting at the practice, because I had this notion when I graduated that everything that I do has to have some sort of a progression, some sort of an innovation. And we wanted to hinge and get rooted with modernism, despite this more than 100 years old. Probably 100 years old now. That was 1920s. So it's a 100-year anniversary for modernism. Where we wanted to put that as our guiding principle. Okay, these of course create in terms of what do we want to question in terms of how do we add value to architecture, and perhaps how do we add value to design, or how do we add value to the environment and to society. I think these are things that we can answer. We do not need to be the only solution. Architecture is not the only solution for for society, but we actually are a very big part of it, especially in how we want to think and how we wanted to act. Acting is very crucial. Action is very crucial. So along the way, when we had a very specific, and we still do, that at least we have to do something that is modern. We wanted to challenge this a little bit more. And this is something probably that is very geared towards my identity in terms of really trying to innovate, trying to improve, and try to beat what I've done before in terms of really advancing something. And this has revolved around as well for the past 5 years that it is no longer stylistic for Zubu Design Associates. It is probably an agenda that we wanted to adhere. What kind of an idea we wanted to espouse. From there, we can also develop our current colleagues and associates and how we really want to develop their agendas using, of course, our methodologies, using our values. How do we push in terms of creating new ideas for a project? This, of course, is exemplified with an essence of what we wanted to do for the project. And that's where this has always been like a hypothesis and a simple problem that we wanted to put in front of everyone in the office. And then we basically look into other ideas, investigate, and how if this can be proven on a specific project, and then further evolve into a series of projects. So that's always been how we've been working on, and we've been developing our associates. Let me focus, of course, for this project, which is the Jesu. It's an oratory for our school. I studied there from kindergarten to high school. So both Kenneth and I are alumni of the school, the Sacred Heart School Ateneo de Cebu. So it's a Jesuit school. I'd like to show you around the journey that we had. These are the first things with this talk here with Babel, that we're going to show you previous schemes. We're going to show you the design process where we went through, the journey that we've been, the highs and lows we've shared with Kenneth, and of course with our fellow professional organization and our colleagues as well. And then the journey towards the WAF, and then then we look into the detail. What was, well, for me, quite special still, and a special project as well that we've done for the past year. Okay, so this has definitely been situated as well here in Cebu. We already know that the Jesuit culture is admittedly very progressive, very advanced in terms of the intellect, and I'm very influenced by that. And I would really actually say that a lot of the formation, apart from, of course, your parents, your family, yourself, there's a lot of my formation and how I think, the way the Jesuits do. And of course, how we want to serve as well, right? So the campus is a 3,000 population. Unfortunately, just like any other school right now, it's quite deserted. But the Jesuit culture lives on, just like what we have to do in regarding this situation. It has a full range of students and its background. Okay, what happens usually is they go to the gymnasium with 3,000 population for the mass. That's always how it happens. Okay, inside the campus, you also have various buildings, high school building, preschool, grade school. There's also specific chapels and places of worship. Okay, however, they were really looking for something that is a little bit more symbolic. The campus is basically almost done. This was the last one that was built. We're actually building another one, a smaller civic building right now, which we're also very excited. It's to honor the Boy Scout of the Philippines of the school. But this is something, with religion, the Jesuits, the Catholic order, education. You have the campus already set. It was master planned and designed by the Espinas, very long tenured as well and cultured architectural firm. And of course, was the capping. What is this symbol that we can for Jesu, the heart of the Jesus? So as I mentioned, you have these venues. They have venues already for there. And then we were really looking into this. This was it was completed 2018, December, somewhere there. December 2018. if I'm not mistaken, we started our design process 2015. Okay, so there was a 3-year design process and a 1-year construction. Actually, 9 months construction. So it's kind of a, if you know, in practice, it was supposed to be the construction on the longer side and the design a little bit probably on the near side, but this was really quite reverse. The story behind this is actually Kenneth was approached first. Don't be surprised, okay? But Kenneth was approached first. There was specifically a design already for the architecture of this building, and then they wanted Kenneth to be to handle the interiors of the space. Well, Kenneth was looking into the architecture and said, you know what, maybe we should be able to do something a little bit more special. And he said, but if in order for us to do this, to pull this off, we need an architect. So guys, listen, okay? So it was really actually him who endorsed that we needed an architect. And what's beautiful and probably a blessing as well, especially when you have a very strong agenda and you have a very strong identity, is actually we didn't pitch for the project. It was really inbound. He just mentioned to the board, I know an architect who can pull this off with me. I want to work with Buck. We know each other, but we're not close. So that's something that I've already had a lot of opportunities as well, collaborating or working with a lot of designers and clients when they are actually wanted us for innovation and pulling off something that's special. And that's something I really want to share to you guys, that it is actually something of an identity that therefore becomes a brand. Okay, so that's something I really want to point it out for everyone. So if you notice, the campus is quite big, and this is where on the north side of the building, in terms of that, you notice that axis with the quadrangle with the two-winged building. That's where the site is. Okay, so that's basically where the site is. If I'm not mistaken, I forgot the site, the area of the site. I'm sorry. The beauty of this site was there were already decades-old mango trees. There were really nice mango trees already there. And we wanted to plan out the oratory, and the first program was it had to be a 500-seater oratory. Right now it's around 350. So along the process, we kind of scaled it down because the Jesuits, also the school, didn't kind of realize that there's no point of increasing a little big of the capacity because you still won't be able to put in all the population of the students anyway inside of the facility. So surface parking and an oratory plus a recollection space was done. These are fewer schemes. I mean, there's probably 4 or 5 major schemes, and you'll notice every one of these are so varied. These were things that were there. This is where we had a lot of misunderstandings, collaboration. And when I want to point it out again, collaborations are not based on always agreeing. This is always a test. Where do you want to step back? Where do you want to step forward? What is essential to say? As long as you put aside the ego, really try to work it out. Collaborations is not also about just 2 designers. This is about really working with the client, really working with the board of directors, the contractors, and these are things that I really also want to point out. So we had these kinds of concepts first. It was supposed to be a very simple shed. We kind of morphed it. There was kind of a lantern that comes out, and that's going to be weaved in a way of a Kenneth Kabonpa style, you know. And then there's going to be light coming out from that tip. So we were thinking of this sense. It's like, let's simplify it a bit. So we were going around again. So we had this very modernist. You notice how varied the schemes were. We had this very modernist approach, and Kenneth was saying, "Buck, I want something very modernist. Can you do that?" Of course I can do that. We can pull it off. So it was very decent for me. We kind of created these very box-like. You know, it's very straightforward in the plan. One thing that I learned from Kenneth and I took in as well is, if you notice with Zubu, there's a lot of, in terms of planning, that we kind of break it apart. These were some things that I had to restrain myself, because this is one thing he wanted to really figure out. I said, Buck, I really want something very simple in terms of how it's approached and everything. And I said, okay, let's work it out. So those were the things that were the things that we did. So if you notice, there's this again, even how much of a still of a box, there was a cadence of heights and a direction and axis, of course, towards the altar. So these are the second scheme, and we scrapped this again, you know. So probably every scheme is a period of 4 to 5 months. So the design process was really long. No, so we had this, and he said, "Buck, I'm going back to my model makers. Go ahead, show me." So we did it again. We created the model, we created models, and he said, "I wanted the rays coming out." So when you think about Kenneth, he's also a genius in his own right. He has the intuition. Sorry for the ring of the phone. He has the intuition as well as a designer. Okay, so these were some of the sectional aspects of how does that ray come out from the crucifix, and then it creates these kinds of walls and projections. So these were things, again, we wanted to study, hard, and we investigated. We created some kinds of renderings when we created these kinds of lights, rays, creating these landscapes, creating these pergolas, creating all the skylights probably. And it's like, oh, and one thing we were really like, damn, this is so complicated. I think we need to really push it down again a bit. So these were things that were also grunting my heart. It's like, oh my gosh, another thing. But okay, let's do it. All right. So we went back again to a little bit more simpler. Okay, let's go back to something that's a little bit more, with a little bit more solemn and a little bit more restrained. And it's still about the journey. So if you notice, these are just again processional, a solid object in the front, a little bit more processional with a glass filtered with probably some rattan that towards the altar. And if you notice, it was something like this. Yet at this rate, we were groundbreaking already, and the project was put in a halt a bit. We were still, the president of the school was stopping us and saying, "Let me get back to you in a couple of months." He discerned and he said, "I don't think we need a 500-seater. I think we needed a 300-seater thing. Let's not make it too big, and then let's re-strategize again." So everyone was again in a full blank slate, and that's where we have come up with the current design, the winning design. So right now, what we basically have is the oratory on the left and an incline volume on the right. Okay, so the oratory is on the left. That was already surrounded by the decades-old mango tree. So we really wanted to have that kind of a garden, an enclosed garden. That inclination again also created that opening when you go in. This is basically where you have an access in terms of, if you notice, that access towards the pedestrian. Okay. The incline space is basically the support facilities. There's a recollection space, an office space, a boardroom, there's some toilets. So these were things that classroom and classes, when they have recollections, they actually use this now. And we were very fortunate before the pandemic that we had our leadership seminar as well for Zubu DA. Thank God I'm the architect. No? So we had a training there as well for our office. Hang on. So again, I said to Kenneth, I trust your genius. I will trust your intuition. Let's see what we can pull this off again. So he was drawing this kind of a heart. I mean, this is the heart of Jesus. Admittedly, this is quite metaphorical, something that is frowned upon, admittedly, for me as well as an intellectual architect. I pride myself to have that. But in those sense, you probably wanted to create that metaphor, quite gestural, but of course it shouldn't be as literal. So there's nothing wrong with metaphors as long as you do it with proper authenticity and taste. So from there, it created that kind of a balance in terms of probably a relationship between a student and a teacher, this kind of a shape. The roof kind of like is a metaphor of the shape of the heart, the figurative heart, not the literal one. So there you go, that you see the structure having gone through this specific design process, and we really invested in this. And I said, I'll pull this off, Kenneth, don't worry. Tell me what we need to do in terms of the form. He wanted this. And I pride myself that without me as well and Zubu DA, we wouldn't have done these specific, all the curves has to be done right. It has to be done carefully. The proportions has to be there. And those were the education and the learnings that I've done over the decade. Coincidentally, and probably faithfully, by fate, we were awarded. It was published during the day of the inauguration of Foundree. So you had this connection with us, Jason, Gerard, the whole Foundree community with Zubu DA. So we had a great toast there. They were all happy there. Admittedly, Jesy and I, we were already texting that a few weeks ago. We already knew, but we didn't wanna spill the beans earlier. But that's basically known. If you know, you basically know a few weeks earlier. In case you get shortlisted, no, so you'll know that as well. This from when we got July 4, I think, no? I think it was July 4 that we had our inauguration in Foundree. From July 4 to December 4, roughly during those months, we had a lot of preparation. And it's something I also like to address to people to share. Despite they say that we are a little bit more on the veteran side, we have some experience. We have some experience presenting, just like how I love doing this. Preparation is key for presentation, especially in international scene, but not in any scene. Preparation is key. We've done a lot of parts in preparing our presentation. It should be a 10-minute presentation. Unlike this one, we were given an hour, so I can always just talk and dabble, But you have to prove your point within 10 minutes. That's very tough for Jason and I. We love to talk, right, Jace? So these are the things we had to prepare. We had 4 or 5 or 6 different settings that I had private settings with Kenneth critiquing me, my staff critiquing me if the point was across. We invited a few friends from Manila to Cebu on one event just to critique ourselves. So it was something of a character as well to, being told that we don't get your point. And it did happen during the first few times because it was, you really needed people to tell you what is, something that they didn't get or not. And that is a humble feeling that everyone should be able to accept as well. We have to have that humility as well. Blueprint was gracious enough to create this event. And I'm sure Jesy, Carlo wasn't there, but John Ryan and myself were able to present. And believe me, guys, we were critiqued. And then that was great. And it was a great preparation for us because a week after that was our final deadline to give our presentation boards. So we really need to know how to edit. On the right is basically a picture. We were here in this hotel by Marcel Wonders. Really great neo-baroque, cool, very nicely done hotel. Kenneth was staying there. And we had a preparation even the day before. So we were still scripting, changing the script. And then my staff here in Cebu, I viber them, hey, can you change the slide here, etc. And then when I wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning, check it out, and then edit a little bit more. So that was great. I mean, that was the presentation. It had a preparation. I was very nervous, admittedly. I was very nervous 4 months prior. But during the time when I was there, I was, ready. Like the NBA playoffs, I was ready. I was ready for the championship, So those are the things that I really want to tell you that we still have these kinds of feelings, and that's very natural. What's crucial is you have to be very prepared, and you have to take in critique. The event started quite well. I mean, we had we were all in unison with Kenneth. We presented both. It had to be credited that we had to present together. These were a product of both our creation. From concept to detailing to whatever agreements and disagreements we had, and we did. Admittedly, there were some negative publicity, probably something quite sensitive along the way during those months. This was probably in a way that it was published quite wrong in terms of who the credit would be for as an architect. Something that was misinterpreted, at least with both of us, Kenneth and I, we had talk about this, and there was really something that were misinterpreted. I'd like just to call out that, yes, I admit that the UAP and our professional organization was crucial in protecting our profession, and that's very crucial. We have to protect as well and promote and empower is something that we want to think. There's something more that we probably have to do, probably more careful in the future, where we really have to have more due process and really research what was going on rather than reacting first. And then that's something I'd really like to move forward to say that, hey, there might be an architect or not. There was nothing. It was really jump into a conclusion. And one thing I really want to espouse again is dialogue first, guys. We have to dialogue first. There's something that you need to look for first, research, talk about it first before jumping ship. And in a way, it was a defining moment, at least as well, in our profession and to myself. And I've said in my letter that whatever I did in my decision is my decision, and I take it full accountability. I am not a victim, and that's something I really want to show and tell you guys as well, that whatever you do, it is your decision and choice and accountability. There was no exploitation, okay? So those are the things, that's why I was very confident, and if they were giving me any sanctions because of this, I will embrace it, because at the end of the day, I'm accountable for that building and the architecture of Jesu. There were many firms going with us, not against us. The beauty about the WAF is you are basically trying to share your concepts and your ideas behind what you do, with a short list of entries and in front of the judging panel. You feel the sense of respect, and that's something that's lovely. In terms of, you see the vibe of the architecture community, as much as we're so cliquish together, you know, we have that kind of sense. We're the only ones who understand fenestration, probably, or the massing, you know. So we have these kinds of vocabulary. But you have to think that these avenues and arenas are very crucial when we know each other. I got to know the architects that were shortlisted. This is an architect, a fellow Filipino, who did a very neo-Gothic approach. That's not a restoration, for a church in Singapore. So Asian, number one, Filipino as well. Another one was non-Catholic but Christian church, also Singapore. Asian as well. Had this quite a very, you know, modernist as well, massing. It's quite stacked, quite heavy volume, because there's a lot of program involved. You have a very artistic one as well, Duty Architects, very young guy, young architect, just like us, Jason. Young pa tayo? Yes, we are young. So this is a hands clasp, like the Mary's hands or something like that. So again, very, very beautiful work. This is in Thailand. Asian again, all right? This is the only non-Asian, location. European, where it's actually a mausoleum. This was actually commended. This was, in a way, second place. This is highly commended as well. Not the winner, but highly commended in terms of how he used the play of light in creating these mausoleum for the family in this part of Spain. And this is the only one, guys, that's protruding all above. If you notice, it's all one story. So, you know, breaking the rules again, no? Architects love breaking the rules. Okay. This is the winner, guys. So this is basically a mosque in Abu Dhabi. This is done by Zebra Architects, and they were the first to present, guys. When we saw it with the first, I already knew. This was my contender. I really had a feeling that this was gonna win. And when he presented, I was like, oh my gosh, hands down, this guy's gonna win. I haven't seen everyone. I'm not, you know, I know this guy's gonna win. And one thing that we need to learn with our Western counterparts, they're actually very articulated. They don't need a script. I had to do my script. For the first time in a lot of presentations, I had to do a script. You know, you need to have the game plan, the 10-minute game plan. These guys are so articulate. They're so used to this. That's one thing that we have to really practice as Filipinos. Practicing communication. Another lesson that we really have to learn. Beautiful interiors, beautifully done. It's like a boulder along the park. So, you know, it was among that site dev that you noticed, it was really just a portion with two wings for the male and for the female, and it becomes a public park. Beautifully done. And of course, our project, which I would still say, of course, I still love our project as well. But again, going with, not against, these buildings, we're very instrumental as well in terms of learning, because we all design in a way a liturgical structure. We kind of sat down, everyone's really listening, and I'm very sure I also got their respect and vice versa. And that's the beauty of competitions. Okay. The next stretch will probably be more of how we conceptualize Jesu. If you notice, guys, in Cebu, and this is one of the products of Kenneth, we do a lot of works with vernacular products. Okay, vernacular items, weaving that you see, how you want to have this intricacy. And this is something of an agenda, as much as Kenneth did not say it. This is something of an agenda that you probably wanted to incorporate in his own design ethos. Okay, you've seen how he does his work and how we wanted to, you know, have that kind of identity as well, to create a Kenneth Cobonpoe Zubu DA building. We were able to say that we have to look for bamboo. And we were really looking for a source, and it is very hard, just like as what Sangay said on Sunday. We actually downplayed this product. We actually downplayed this material. And it was very hard for us to look for. We had so many times to search for a consultant which collaborated. We were lucky to have one faculty in USC who had further studies in Bandung, Indonesia. So we had some background to this, and we were able to source a lot of bamboo in an island in Bantayan, and they had to cross as well, which is there nearby Negros as well. We had to cross as well in Negros to get, we probably harvested 4,000 lengths of bamboo, okay? So this was also, this NGO was actually established after Haiyan when they wanted to create this livelihood program for bamboo straws, very small items, but still made of bamboo, for the community. And this was their biggest commission yet. When we had this opportunity with them, with the right treatments, and they know how to harvest properly as well, we had a collaboration with the community. Of course, they had this a lot of the bamboos that were done, properly treated. These were actually the bamboos that were treated off-site, then moved to the site as well. And that's where we wanted to have this promenade, a promenade of entrance where you have this bamboo tunnel, the bamboo portico where you wanted to go in. So we wanted to have the establishment of the very expressive roof, concrete or very solid object, and the bamboo that kind of greets you towards the oratory. So looking into that view, you basically have this sequence, you know. So basically coming from that graphic, you basically understand where I'm coming from in terms of the whole concept that we've done. On the other side as well, if you notice in front, it was much more closed off because you will see the road in front, and it's really quite busy there during the times of, you know, during the school hours, going in and out of the school hours. On the other side as well, we wanted to celebrate that it had to be more open. It's all full glazing, right across really beautiful mango trees that were preserved. And you see, if you notice, so it's much more open there. It's a connection between the indoor and the outdoor in terms of the space of the garden there. So you notice, right? So again, cascading down towards the axis. You look at the lowest part of that axis, that's actually where you will enter. There are two axes for this for the entrance. One going towards the bamboo, on the other side, you'll actually go to the lowest part. You will I'll show you to you that later. Okay. So the garden as well there, if you notice, there's kind of enclosed in terms of the main oratory, a bigger structure, and the smaller structure as well on the side. Okay. And that's where you have the journey. You go in towards this and you have this journey. This is the intended more solemn entrance that we wanted, apart from the traditional main access that you have. So you walk into here, different. It's an interchange of bamboos. There's probably two layers of bamboos interchanged with one another, so that you will not see a direct visual effect towards the building, but the light dithers and slithers through all these. So those are the things that interlock between the ceiling, the wall. That's basically what was the whole intention of this processional going towards the oratory, where you will be greeted towards the lowest part of the roof. So those were all intentional. So another view. And so if you notice, guys, it's actually 3 layers. There are 2 layers on the exterior part, quite alternating, and then another layer on the inside to at least hide the structural section that is carrying the procession. No? So these are things that I wanted to show you. Another thing that you don't see in the WAF presentation, we're putting in a few more details for everyone to see. No? We love to share. These were all joined properly, terminated, that it had to float. These are actually some tricks that you have to do, guys. Sometimes when you pull it off, that you are a little bit away from the floor or the ceiling, it actually kind of avoids all the imperfections. These are things I like to tell you, because we do a lot of these in cabinetries, joineries, or other detailing that we do. So these are things that and you've noticed, it's just really a bolt. you'd see a stainless steel bolt that was really properly attached. So it's very, very easy to even take it out to maintain. So these are the two entrances that you see. A night view where we had in between beautiful up lighting to have this kind of a lantern effect as well. And then we are greeted, if you are entering from the traditional axis, when you have the longitudinal axis, you're greeted in towards this bamboo. And the foreground of this picture is actually the lowest part of the structure, okay? So you're greeted again with this glass in front with a crucifix. And we, again, deliberately designed this because, again, there is an existing mango tree there that we specifically aligned to create this kind of a more natural approach between the architecture and the existing landscape of the building. So that is basically what you see in terms of the profile. People would probably say, are you scared it's a butterfly roof? Jason has done that as well. It's a matter of just really correcting your details. We had a huge gutter there, providing the correct computations, really providing the correct details. And these are things I really want you guys to really know that detailing is a huge component for success for projects. Despite of that, we even have admittedly some failures. Sometimes we still have it. All the more if you don't do that, do those kinds of things. So it isn't again an interplay of bamboos inside. And it was very easily done. We were toying with the idea of creating abaca. And Kenneth said, you know what, it's too complicated. Just put ties. These are just plastic ties. When at the moment as well, when you really need to do some maintenance, cut it off, take it out, do something, and then you can just go back and tie it up. No? So these are the things that were very simple strategies, yet as our roles as architects, we will be able to pull up how to do the framing, how do you arrange these things were crucial in the formation of the success of this project. So that's basically the three-dimensional aspect where we created these two steel GI bars that were treated as framing. You basically put it there, you tie them up as well, and then that creates that form. When you really think about it, that's basically one thing that you really need to set out, because the curve does not only curve on one axis, it curves in 2 or 3 axes. So that was the thing that was very complicated as well. So we had to create these framings that were crucial in terms of pulling off the detail. So you have this sequence that you see. And the last one is kind of an arc from straight to a little bit towards a concave. And that's basically how you see in terms of how it waves from the honesty of the building in terms of the form of the building. So that's basically the formation, the plane formation of the roof and the relationship of the bamboo in terms of how we model this one as well. So you have this at the back, you'll notice that. And then in the front, you will notice it like from flat, and it kinds of, creates an arcing feature for the element. And one thing that we wanted to document was very crucial, as I mentioned. The devil, which is the God is in the details, not the devil, we're in the church. So the crucial thing about this was really basically how we wanted to create the formation of the points where you want to attach. So you created a line, a form that, if you notice with point C, point A, basically we created these algorithms. We had to use advanced software. We admittedly had to use Rhino for this. This was very hard for us to model right away. So we had to do some advanced algorithms, simple algorithms, but advanced software for this to be pulled off. So those are the things that you mentioned. No? So if you notice, guys, we were really looking into the geometry and how you wanted to create this unison. Let's say for point C, it was going from bottom to up. Point A was basically along the line, and I think point B was basically along the level of the glass line, something like that. No, so we had a lot of sequence and analysis that we did, and you have all the sections. These were all documented, all the sections of each bamboo pole. It looks tedious, but the only thing that you really have to look into, because the bamboo coming from the algorithm, you basically know the length of the bamboo. by using the perimeter of the bamboo and the length of the bamboo, and you know that the points, the grits, the steel bars that I mentioned are all, aligned in terms of how it was done and constructed. You just basically tie it up, and on certain areas, it will just basically arc by itself because bamboo has a certain flexibility to it. So it's just basically knowing the straight line, knowing the path that where it hits, making sure that since it's an arc, so anyone who's a student here and who didn't believe in descriptive geometry, too bad for you. You embrace it, okay? That's something that we have to embrace, no? So just as anything that your math teacher or algebra teacher or geometry teacher told you, arc will always come from 3 points, or the CAD will tell you that, right? I mean, in terms of commands. So those are the things that we had to be, use a little bit of our common sense and mathematics to apply to architecture to document this. And this is something I really want to show you guys. And we're proud of that in terms of how this came about. See, if you notice, this pole 17, 25, bay 25, 33. So you see, you notice the cadence and the sequence until it becomes a little bit more flat. And it combines already towards the existing fabric of the ceiling. So that's how we pulled off in terms of that. These are basically the construction drawings we wanted to see. So it doesn't really look, imagine the suspense of the client because they had some pessimism as well with the bamboo. It's like, can we just use plastic, PVC? No, we can't do that. But of course, even myself and Kenneth didn't have enough experience to pull off this scale. So we had to have a lot of critical thinking, common sense, experimentation. And you notice this here with a lot of mock-ups. We had really bad mock-ups with really small bamboos. We wanted to bundle it. And then again, we went to the 2.5 inch bamboo, structural bamboo. These are quite sturdy. So those are the things I wanted to share. So that's how it's constructed along the way. And there is where you have the finished product. The altar was inspired by the mount of the sermon. You have these rocks basically here. And universally, I noticed, guys, the Amara Chapel of Buensalido is kind of something like this as well. I didn't copy you, Jason. But, great minds think alike. So, but you notice these kinds of interpretations and concepts that, you have as well how you want to interpret natural or metaphorical, again, that we wanted to use. So again, this is kind of a loose interpretation of the Mount of the Sermon, creating even, these are pink marble, quarried local marble, pink marble in Zubu. So this is locally quarried. This is much cheaper than the finished product because this is lying around. So we quarried them off, cut them off. We had the boulders, we didn't get that. We got them there on site and kind of figured out how to place them, okay? Using the benches, the tabernacle, and of course, how it relates towards the tree. So that's basically also another view from the priest. If you're presiding, that's basically what you see in terms of, so if you notice the lowest portion is not really at the center, but quite in the middle, off center, then it goes up again, but you don't see that effect. And this is another one at the back. Some details, of course, in terms of how we wanted to do. So the core Jesu is a testament of great architecture, great collaboration. Having faith, client had great faith in us, despite they know that we were quite delayed already on the latter part. We pulled it off with all these things that we wanted to ensure that it is not about the designer, it is always about the architecture that can serve society, that can serve the community. So that was a testament of how we wanted the core Jesu. But despite of that, the core Jesu is just not a symbol of us as a building. It is a symbol for the community. We've noticed that our alumni, just like me, would be able to visit again the school. We had some Sunday masses here as well. There was a sort of a catalyst for us to reinvigorate the community again from the past towards the present and towards the future. As I mentioned, we had a speech when we were given a speech in front of the community that this was built for generations. When Father Manny, the president, envisioned this is not based for his legacy and glory or for our egos as designers. This was built for generations to come. After the pandemic even, after all this and done, we have to believe that decades from now, this structure will still live and move on and become a symbol for our culture of Jesuits. And you notice how much this has been celebrated again with the community, where how they use this in terms of religious celebrations. And we have beautiful diversity of community again coming in by experiencing the bamboo architecture, the space. And until now, guys, you go inside, you can still feel and smell the paint of bamboo. And that's another sensory aspect of this material that you can use, the smell of the bamboo. Another thing, I mean, you cannot smell air. I mean, it's a different aspect. And I love it when I always go there. You can still feel the faint. And of course, in any season as well, when you see the light, it's different, refractions and hits of the lights and the shadows that affect this building. But at the end of the day, again, this building, as much as this was a finalist, this is a building to contemplate and for people and students to pray. Thank you, guys. That's all.
Thank you so much, Architect Bach. Such a wonderful experience also. You sharing with us yung mga parang hindi pa nakikita ng public, no? I really appreciate that. Yeah, I really appreciate also the design process that you showed us. And also, I would like to share that I've learned something from Father Alex Bautista. So he's a father, he's a priest architect that he taught me about Stendhal effect, something that is present in religious buildings. When you enter the building, you just feel the presence of God by just the manipulation of the materials and also the scale of the building. So I think I really wish that I can experience physically the space, and I'm looking forward to visit the Jesu.
We'll invite you, Gerard, especially when physical restrictions does not apply. Kasi may Foundree Cebu naman. Diba, Jason?
Yes, yes.
So don't worry about that. That will soon come. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Bak. What I appreciated was yung realization of all the pressures that we have to go against to form something good, something better. All the yung schemes that you had to go through, all the criticisms of our colleagues. Parang ang sparks sa isang pandayan that you have to pound on metal to produce something good. And then for parang World Architecture Festival then, that you have to hear the critiques of your colleagues so that you know on where to improve on, etc., etc. Importante yung conversations then that happen in between or during that yung pag clash of different ideas. So given that, I encourage everyone to type in your questions in the chat box, and we will address them after our second set of speakers.
I'd like to point out lang, at least for the audience now, I'd like just like one more pointer. Remember when we came in as well, we are still fairly young as professionals. Kenneth is actually a little bit more established. He's been there, a little bit more over a decade than me in terms of the design scene. And then we had the contractors as well that were really this contractor was really, really good. But yet he had a specific thing that, who is Buck? Okay. No. So there were certain things that you had to, and I had to always espouse in our office. Do what's right. Always do what's right. Always show up. Always make sure that we earn their respect. Respect is coming from all these details, ensuring that we can manage, and we'll always be with them as well through highs and lows. And believe me, guys, when the start of construction, the contractors were really not very much keen on us. They were really like, details, it's not very important. And my associates say, you know what, sir, they told me you don't need to detail. I go, don't follow them. Detail as we want. And believe me, guys, after a couple of months, they were asking, do you have the gutter detail? I told you so. So these are the things. After that, when they found that we were very crucial ensuring that we are not going for a free ride, and we had to ensure that they're with them, I can assure you guys, I felt that respect. And that's something I think as a profession, we have to have more skills training. para, this brouhaha with you, engineer ba, whoever, I think would be another approach apart from, of course, legal, which is important. But, that aspect we can definitely control as individuals and professionals. That's all.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so actually meron pa sana akong question. Architect pa, konti lang.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Kasi I'm really curious, what's the most challenging parang event during the construction that you experience in Jesu?
This was really a tight. The most challenging was if it's during the construction. I'll tell you a little bit. The most crucial, the most challenging was really the collaboration in the design process, and I basically accounted that now. During the construction process, we had a very tight schedule, but it can be done. The target was supposed to be 1 year. We started by March 2018. We were supposed to complete it by March 2019. Fate aside, there was an event. The highest ranking official of the Jesuits all over the world, Father Sosa, was traveling to the Philippines on December.
So napaaga.
So pinapaaga. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? So during that, when you notice all the bamboos, everything was up probably only by November, October, November. So again, as I mentioned, it was an experimental process for us as well. So there were so many things that were still not very sure for me. But during September, when we heard the news, like, oh my gosh, we got to do this. So again, we don't give up, guys. So we had to figure it out. We had to find a way. We had great collaborators as well. We had for this, the project manager, the executive board committee as well. We really chipped in. Apart from, of course, critiquing and criticizing as well. There were really a lot of criticisms as well. But you have to take it in, because at the end of the day, what's crucial, and what guys, for those who have a specific project that we have delivered, it's always about delivering with proper integrity and authenticity, doing what's right. And at the end of the day, it all boiled down into that we pulled it off. We were very happy we pulled it off by December. So that was one of the challenges.
Okay, thank you so much, Architect Pa. Congratulations as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to comment lang din.
Okay,
Actually,
Architect.
kasi I heard about this project on its yung kasi mahirap yung collaboration definitely with Kenneth Pabunpue, with someone who's already in the global stage, di ba? Ika nga. And then Buck was chosen to collaborate with Kenneth, and from that standpoint, which I believe before kayo nag-collaborate, wala pa kayong collaboration prior. So it's like, parang it's like a new marriage out of nowhere.
Yes.
And there would be bound to be problems with it also. And it took 3 years, diba, to, like, I saw one scheme and then isang scheme and then another scheme. And then they would try to pitch in a certain scheme. And then yun pa yung certain time na hindi niya pa alam kung ano yung boundaries, like what, for example, if Kenneth would propose a form, is it something that would be against Buck? Or if Kenneth would want to do this, is it against Buck? Or Buck would want to do this, is it against what Kenneth would yung boundaries niya as a designer? So
Yeah.
from there on, yun sa entire 3 years, I wanted to know kung ano yung, like, how was it yung finding the boundaries or blurring the boundaries for yung finding the best synergy between you two, like within that 3 years, was it fast to find out, was it slow, how did you both deal with it, not on the ego sense as a designer, but more of on the vulnerability sense of the designer, when would you let them collaborate in this way, when would you push in a certain part of the collaboration, which I saw naman in the end na, for Kenneth, yung certain details, pinabayaan ka na niya, di ba? Parang, oh, I trust you with this one and what you do with that. Because it became that far in the process already na learn and grow to trust a certain chunk of the process na go tayo dyan, trust tayo dyan sa part na yan, because it was already 2 years. But early on in the process, how how was it overall? Parang medyo gulo yung question ko, but get
I
to
understand. I
how
understand
the
the question.
collaboration. Yeah.
The beauty of collaboration, and you probably even understand this, even on architects with partners in the office. No, you don't actually always agree. No, it's really basically coming from a relationship. You don't always agree with your wife or your girlfriend. So it was like I had a new relationship. No, so good impressions at first because we know our reputations. Then sooner or later, we kind of discovered that we are not so the same pala. You know, we had the thought of creativity as our denominator, but approaches were very different. You know, so those were the things that was quite frustrating, admittedly. And we have common friends, and we kind of sometimes, you know, parang relationship, no? So I'd probably tell my common friend, and he'd probably, so we'd know that we kind of are not seeing eye to eye together, no? So there was a rough patch. And by the way, for the first 4 schemes, there were 2 schemes there that went all the way to completing the contract documents. We reset again. This is something, guys. Kasi we were also quite pressured for a groundbreaking. So we had to say, okay, this is it. We pushed. There were structural design complete na. We went to acoustics na, you know. So it was something that, in a way, it was after the groundbreaking there was silence, and that was actually something that was good, and that was a great pull off from our client. They were the ones who kind of, as Father Manny said, wanted to reflect, discern again, and that's beautiful to discern. Those moments, in a way, we actually have also discerned, both Kenneth and I. And I'd like to point this out, and I know I'm very strong at. I am very strong at leadership. Leadership is not about just telling you what to do. Leadership sometimes is also stepping back and knowing what needs to be done. So at that last portion, I said, Ken, I know you're still you're a genius. Let me know what's your intent. I'll pull it off. I'll tell you. But of course, along the way, when that happened, I said, this is nice. This can be pulled off. Let's do it. I'll do what I can with that first the form. So I did not, admittedly, and I mention this all the time, I did not have I will not put a lot of credit to myself to create the schematic form. Admittedly, it is Kenneth's, okay? Along the way as well, during the development, and what's crucial was, as even the ceiling inside was more me. Parang nabaliktad kami. Siya yung architecture, ako yung interiors. But in a loose sense. But I would still say it was very crucial that we were very integrated. So he had to design in the inside. It's like, Ken, this will not work. This is just too complex. Ganon. I told him about it, and then from there, I said, sige, let's pitch in with what you have. Then from there, we kind of developed, and then yun. That was where as well, after 3-4 years as well, that I found that mutual respect again. No, you have that respect. Kasi at the end of the day, it was for me to ensure that our qualities as leaders have to provide, sense and, positivity, or at least, purpose to society or to the client. So, yun, it was a fun ride, Cooks. But it was great, it had defined my character. We had a lot of talks about this, and, sometimes we had a board meeting and then the presentation was there and then we changed everything. So character defining, it was very character defining, and those are the things that are crucial for everyone to understand, that these things will actually make you better.
Define, yeah.
Make it better.
Thank you. Ang ganda nung ano.
Ano na, pwede pang movie?
Yeah.
Sun Builder and Developer Incorporated is a general contracting, construction management, engineering, and design company. By Sun Builder and Developer Incorporated, construction innovation partner.
Fueled by a never-ending passion for quality and innovation, while others kept to 3.5-meter-high sliding doors, Kenneth and Mark pushes the limit to 3.8 meters without compromising its integrity. Our on-site visitation guarantee makes Kenneth and Mark the prime example of a modern holistic business approach.
Across 5 continents and more than 75 countries, Vespo, a famous global brand name in PPR and other piping systems, provides every home with quality thermoplastic piping solutions that has your health and environment in mind. Manufactured with state-of-the-art technology, approved and certified by water authorities and testing bodies all over the world. When quality is required, Vespo gives the assurance you need. Use Vespo PPR. Vespo. Life flows.
Are you someone who treats your home as a masterpiece? Come join me as I give you a peek into finishing and furnishing pieces that are works of art, pieces that have actual stories to tell. I am Grant Lim, and this is Home Studio.
Okay, so for our next, thank you so much. For our next speaker, ready na kayo guys? So another finalist in World Architecture Festival. So we'll have Alero Design Studio. So Alero Design Studio is an architecture and interior design studio operating since 2015. It was founded by designers Jesy Cruz and architect Jaemi Cruz. In the first years, the studio mainly has settled down into interior design and is now engaging in architecture, furniture design, and visual arts as well. Their driving purpose is the effort to touch the human feelings and to incite emotions to make these dynamic and stressful days of our lives easy and relaxing all through interior design. So let's invite Alero Design Studio to present their work in the World Architecture Festival. So thank you so much. Hello, Jesy.
Yeah. Wait, I'll just figure out what he's sharing. Screen share.
Hello.
Andre.
Hello, Architect Jaemi.
Can you guys see?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. So let us introduce ourselves first. We are from Alero Design Studio. I'm Jesy. I'm an interior designer. I graduated from TSID and together with my sister.
I'm Jaemi, architect Jaemi Cruz. Yeah.
So, wait, ayaw lumipat ng aking slides. Okay. So, hello everyone. First, let us talk about Alero Design Studio for you guys to understand kung paano naging journey namin before we got to WAS. Actually, I feel na dapat kasama kami sa talk last week, yung kasama namin sila Headroom, sila Sangay at lahat, yun yung mga medyo kabatch namin. Pero yun, we're grateful that we're here at the same stage with, of course, si Architect Bach. And then, yung mga kasama nila before sa WAF, sila Carlo, and then sila, oh my God, ano yung pangalan nila? Architect, ano yung huli? Sorry, Jamie?
Ryan Santos.
Okay. Sorry. So, yun, we're just happy that we're on the same stage as they are. When we actually got the invite, we're not really used to talking on public. This is our first webinar. Hindi lang kami makano kay Jason since I told him medyo fanboy kami ng Buensalido. So this is actually parang a dream come true for us. Pinakita ko siya, pero papakita ko na rin sa inyo kung gaano ako fanboy. 2014, meron pa akong photograph version ng libro niya na first edition. So what Alero is now is a big factor yung Buensalido and their movement. And yun, parang ano na kami yan. Anak na kami noong naging movement ng Buensalido. So, let us talk a bit more about Alero. So, we started 2015. We are based in Bulacan. We do architecture, interior design. Ako kasi interior nga. And we also design furniture once in a while. So, let us first start with our journey before we get to WAF. Yung 2015, we'll talk a little bit on how we started because I feel na most of the people watching this webinar are youngsters like us, mga ka-watch namin. So, para lang for you guys to realize na posible dito sa lahat and not just for us because even us, we didn't dream of being part of this before. So, 2015, paano gagawin natin, Jamie? Ako una, palitan.
Okay. Yeah, go.
2015, like any other designer, we started designing for our family. This is our first built design. It's a house. It's for our brother. It's house 30 because we ended up doing 30 plans just to finish this. Even when the project was ongoing, we had to redo a lot. Buo na yung wall, titibagin pa lahat. That's what happens if your dad is a civil engineer and the construction company kayo. Tapos, that's what happens if family ang kliyente. You just say yes kahit libre lang lahat kasi pinapakain naman nila kami. James?
Yeah.
Can you see? Do you see the second slide?
So for the next one, which is the home sweet home, yeah, this is yet another relative's house. So for this one, we tried to emulate the feeling of walking into a bahay na bato. That's why we have exposed trusses that mimics floor joists. We also wanted to make the house more homey and warm. So kaya nilagyan namin siya ng mga Nara wood and then stone cladding as well. So next.
So this one naman, it's also one of our projects in 2015. We called it Starting Line. That's where I am right now. It's simply because I think it is what started everything for Alero. It's our first project in Metro Manila. It's our first condo project as well. And this is the first project that was publicized. Mega Publishing was very helpful to us during our early years. Nakita lang nila kami sa Instagram and they asked if that space is actually here sa Philippines. So that's when we got our first article. And it also helped, I guess, that during that time, I just finished taping yung Amazing Race Philippines Season 2. So kaya siguro din nila napansin. So that was what gave us our break. So 2016 came in. This one is Navio. It's a house in Navotas. This one is actually our first client na talagang legit client. So 1 year of just doing portfolio for relatives and our own homes. Pero this time, this is our first client. It's actually a major renovation. It started out as parang townhouse, and then the owners were able to buy the adjacent lot, and so that's when we expanded the design and everything. 2018, I think, or 2017, this was also shortlisted para sa best residential project nung anthology.
Anthology design, yeah.
James.
Sorry, medyo mapagod. This one is Ready, Set, Go. It's a bachelor's pad that we turn a one-bedroom unit in Soma. So through usage of slightly irregular angles, we were able to create a space with partitions for privacy and relaxation. So eto medyo young yung ginawa naming approach for this kasi since yung client is more on the active lifestyle, we wanted it na colorful din talaga. So yeah. Next.
So this one is another finalist naman na project. This one was for Colorful Design Awards. Actually, parang 2 nights lang yung difference ng awarding ni Anthology and itong Color Design Awards. With Anthology, of course, Baad won, Benji, syempre, master. And then for this one naman, top 3 kami. We were against 2 others, both Almario projects. Well, we all know legend din sila. They designed for 2 penthouses. Isa is one in Rockwell, one in Ayala Premier, and this is our space. It's a small one. It's a 1-bedroom unit, and of course they got the project, but still we were on the same stage as they are. And then 2017 came. 2017, we started.
This is the terrace house.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. So this is 2017 came. We designed the terrace house. This is literally just a day house in Bulacan. The background for this guy, sobrang galing. He is actually a rags to riches guy. So this house is a mixed-use building with his business in mind, and the ground floor is for the offices. The second floor is for the client, for the 3-bedroom residential area, and then for the third floor is for the multi-purpose halls where the clients use for different functions for both business and personal use. So this is also the first feature for cover for a magazine. So yeah.
Right. And then came in our biggest project. This is the Forum. This one is in Quezon City. It's actually a mixed-use project. The upper floors are penthouses are residential units, and from ground floor to parang 9th floor are commercial offices. Now, actually, I would also like to point out na yung I think yung chairman of this company, it's from CM Pancho. It's a construction company. They did SCTEX and Tplex. So they asked us to design this space, this building for them, simply because they knew me during one of my competition days when I was in college. I joined Estilo de Vida before. It's a program of Phil Construct, and he was the chairman then, and he remembered my design. Actually, even the lobby of the building right now, it was actually informed by that booth that I did. But the thing is, factoid, yung booth ko na yun actually was also parang very much inspired by sa ginawa ni architect Jason na yung kay Bruce Lee na restaurant. Chef's Table by Bruce Lee. Chef's Table by Bruce Lee, which is actually weird because full circle, right now we're doing a restaurant for Bruce Lee as well. So, which is exciting for everyone sa Alero. So, the Forum was our gateway project, I guess. After the Forum, a lot of projects came in, influx na, most of the projects in Manila. So we had no choice. Like, I'll just browse through some of them. Like these are some of the condos that we did. So, influx na, and then 2018 came in. We had no choice but to put out our own office here in Manila. Industrial Lagoon pala, this one is awarded by Asia Pacific Awards 2020. Yeah, recently now we were supposed to go to Bangkok, but thanks to the pandemic, we can't. Pero everyone in the firm was supposed to go, which is sad because I think like every other firm, we value yung experience of everyone sa firm and just appreciating architecture and design sa ating neighboring countries. So it's also nice to know that ever since our first project, all of our projects, as in all, has been publicized. We don't have a publicist, it's just that siniswerte lang kami na almost all of our projects, like this one, nasa magazine din niya lahat, and sometimes multiple magazines. So, I don't know, parang swertihan lang din siguro with our timing and everything. And I mean, if it could happen to us, it can happen to anyone. Because I'm going off topic, magagayat naman yung mga tao sa firm. Pero we are not from Manila, so we don't have any connections here. Some people are thinking na baka makonect kami or sa lahat because of the projects that we're getting. But no, we don't know anyone. It's mostly our portfolio that's speaking for us. And as you can see, we're not much speakers ourselves. It's just that, I don't know, basta nangyayari lang. I think hard work and passion with what you do is key. And then some of our ongoing projects. And then, Jaemi. Naglalag yata siya, sorry. And then this project came in. We were invited by Blueprint magazine to be part of the Design Better book. So for the Design Better book, we were tasked to design something for your locality. And during that time, we were based in Baliwag, Bulacan. This was supposed to be a platform for viewing this mga procession and mga festivities in Baliwag, Bulacan. It's meant to be prefab so we can move it around. But the thing is, this project greatly affected what we did for WAF, which we will show you later. And I think actually we were invited for WAF. We received an email for us to join that. I think we got that invite through this book simply because yung winning entry ni architect Benji is also part of the book. He has like 12 pages, kami may 2 pages. And then, okay na ba yung net mo, James?
I don't see the next slide.
Okay, sige. So
there.
Okay, go.
18, yeah. We decided to open an office in Manila since most of the projects nag-influx na kami ng projects because of the forum and then nga sa book. So we decided to open an office in Manila, which can deter the projects that we're handling, which is in Manila, since Kuya Jesy had to go back and forth to Manila and Bulacan. This also gave us opportunity to give with us. So because of this office, we from just 4 na Bulacan based, we eventually grew into a team of 16. So yeah. Next.
Well, for us to get here, actually, like just getting this office. Getting this office was a big step for us, for all of you guys who are starting a firm. We had no idea how we're going to pay. Sabihin ko na yung renta namin. 75,000 a month. Yan, guys. Ngayon, bumapatak yan. Even pandemic na 75,000 a month. Pero we had no idea where we're going to get that. But the thing is, we just knew that we need to go out of our comfort zone and just to try out something new, because or else we'll die in Bulacan and not trying. So I think that's the first step for you guys, to invest on yourselves and put yourself out there. And then we grew. Before in Bulacan, for the longest time, there were just around like 4 of us, Jaemi and 2 draftsmen and me. And then projects slowly started to pile in. At the time, parang I was doing on 17 sites. Ang record ko is 11 sites in one day. So we had no choice but to expand. Thus came in the team. We opened our Capitolio office September 2018. And for some reason, nag-times 4 pa ulit what we had before. We were also invited to do some medyo unexpected projects, like we were asked to redesign and rebrand Phil Construct, like here. You can see some of the team, yan, nag-tour kami. And then, oh wait, sorry. And then came in WAF. And we were shortlisted. So when we were doing WAF, we had no idea actually what it was about. We know na Architect Benji won, and we heard some parang people who were shortlisted before, but we really had no idea on what the process was. We had no idea that we had to do like 2 boards first. It's A2 sized, and then you need to pass that, and then of course you need to do an entry fee. Sobrang mahal din, parang I don't remember, parang 55,000 ba, architect box, parang ganun. But just for you guys to know sa future. Tapos pag pumasok ka pa, pag makapasok ka, meron pang entrance uli yun when you get to Europe and to attend the talks. Meron pa rin entrance. So definitely, it's an investment, and talagang dudugo kayo guys. Pag marami lalo ng entry. That's for entry pa, yung parang 55,000. And then, as you can see, parang yan yung culture lang namin. When we were doing our boards for the WAF, it was last minute as always. Parang that was the last day for us to pass it. So 12 midnight, kailangan namin mapass. So everyone was so stressed. Kaya nag-inuman kami para hindi kami ma-stress. And then, actually, ito ang longest na overtime namin in history. Inabot kami lahat, buong firm, ng past 12 midnight. Pero yun, sa awa ng Diyos, hindi naman naulit na. Pero, ayan. So, Jaemi, our board. Jaemi, can you see? Okay, mukhang medyo lag si Jaemi dahil nasa Bulacan pa siya. So, so this is what we did for our board. Medyo nag-overexert kami ng effort when it comes to doing our board. And the thing is, you need to pass this A2 size yan, and then they will be putting out it out in somewhere in Europe, and they'll be judging if you'll get to the shortlist program. We sent our project para sa future Civic project. So this is the Baliwag Community Center. It was supposed to start groundbreaking dapat ng November, pero as we all know, everything's put on hold, lalo na sa mga LGU because of budget constraints because of the pandemic. So as you can see, as much as possible, we tried to put in a lot of perspectives. And bawat isang perspective na yan, ibang taong ang humawak sa firm. That's why if we're going to put credit on this project, there are tons of people who touch this. Even people who don't work in Alero right now has a touch on this. Even yung write-up namin, we called up friends because we're not really good with speaking and talking. We're not that eloquent. Si Architect Box, sobrang galing. Pwede na siyang mag-TED Talk every day. But for us, it's an effort to do all this. But as you can see, the feel of the board, what we did, it's also siguro parang God sent na most of the people who are working in Alero, Manila then were fresh grads. Kaya sanay sila sa thesis nila. Wala pang isang taon since nag-thesis sila, and this has definitely thesis feels when we sent it out. There were some samples of the boards that past cleaners passed, but the thing is, mga panalo na yun eh. So we had no idea kung paano magpasa ng just to get to the shortlist program. So we kind of overdid it. We tried to put in as much as we can, site development plan and everything, perspectives, sunshade, yung mga wind movement, user analysis. We tried to put in as much as possible. But the thing is, when we saw the other competitors' board, when we went to WAFNA sa Europe, sa Amsterdam, they just did like 2 perspectives and the floor plan and nothing else. And like one page is just one picture, like a magazine cover, that's all. So I don't know what they're looking for, but this got in. So maybe we did something right. Maybe they did something right too. Pero it really depends upon your preference as a firm or your design style. You wouldn't really know. I think it's more of with the narrative of the project, I guess, which we'll be talking about in a while. Jamie, ano ba yung net mo? Sorry, magkahiwalay kasi kami. I'm in Manila. Si Jamie nasa...
I'm in Bulacan. That's why my internet is crappy.
Nasa bukid siya. Slide. So, when we got shortlisted, that's when the magazine was, by Blueprint was released, together with John Ryan and then Carlo and then Architect Bank in Cobuenque. Of course, parang we felt even more pressured. Why? What are we doing here? What are these guys what are we guys doing? And how can we do the presentation? And then there was this invite to do a mock presentation. See, Architect Buck, I think he did like 4, like he mentioned earlier. But for us, wala. Ano lang kami. Unang sabak namin was for...
We did 2.
Lecture na agad, and then the next one was in the Wilconel, and almost all architectural legends and designers were there. Nandiyan sila Jason, Spam, everyone was there. Nandun sila Buji Layu, sila Royal Pineda, everyone you can think of na nakikita nyo at mabasa nyo sa magazine before, they're there live. And they're not the nicest people. sobrang grilled kami. I think one of... Wait, ano yung mga sinabi ko na yan? Sorry. I think one of the worst comments, and I will forever remember in my life, hindi ko na lang sasabihin, because yung presentation namin was worse than a second-year architecture student. Imagine that. Ano pa ba? Yun lang natandaan ko eh, pero...
No, I've heard too much about Bahay Kubo. No, I've heard too much about Bahay Kubo.
Yeah, if ever I get another project na inspiration ay Bahay Kubo o Bahay na Bato, I would...
Parang bagsak na yan.
May mga ganun pa. So, anyway, when we were there, we felt
and
so
out of
place.
And it was too colorful for them.
Yeah, it was too colorful. Parang, it was like watching a DOT presentation about the Philippines. So those are our comments, and we just felt so disheartened with the whole process.
Yes,
we just felt so disheartened because sa Pilipinas pa lang to, paano pa maglilipad tayo? So we felt out of place, like really so out of place. Everyone was there, everyone in the firm was there, and we're just disheartened on how we can do this presentation and just get by. Parang actually ako personally parang ayun, I lost parang yung urge ko to finish the presentation lahat at gawin siya lahat. Parang we placed it aside, tas nagtrabaho na lang kami. Sabi ko, okay naman tayo kahit walang wak, bakit pa natin isipin yan? So, came in the day. I think we finished our presentation siguro parang mga 3 days or 2 days before our flight. Just like Buck, but we've been revising even nung nandun na kami sa Europe because I was so unsure of us. I have no idea kasi we were the first presenters eh. Yung category namin is actually pinakamalaki yung category ng civic community spaces. Parang 14 competitors yung sa amin as compared with other competitions. So we were the first one to present amongst the Filipinos, and it was great because of the support. Once you get in, parang super supported naman kayo ng Dixil, and then there's Wilcon, mga sponsor yan. And then Blueprint, of course, was always there to help us. Parang they did all the mock presentations for us para lang i-hone. So definitely there would be support naman for your presentation to be better. Which, according to Architect Bang, and I believe him, okay naman daw yung presentation namin by a lot. Kasi I think we lessened our slides from from almost 100 to like half. Kasi nga, we were overexerting eh. We were trying to let people know na baka may alam din kami. Parang bata kami pero baka pwede naman. Meron kami ibubuga kahit paano. That's what we felt like. And I think anyone in our shoes would felt the same way. Kasi nga, yun eh, parang everyone shortlisted before us, talagang they're very much experienced. And ang dami na. Bito yung naman, ipipila ka bigla kila Carlo Calma, kila Architect Bach, kila Cobonpe. And sino ba kami? Parang ganun yung feeling eh. So the pressure was there. So, going back to the story, I'm sorry again. So going back to the story, walking into WAF, actually, just to give you guys an idea, because most likely you guys are here because you want to know more about WAF. So going in, there are this parang inflatable, parang mga tent-like structure. Pero yung taas niyan, butas yan. I think it's more of just for acoustics lang. Because there are like 16 or 18 of those, and simultaneous lahat yun. There are so many categories that you can join in. Kasi may future project, may build project, civic, religious, ang dami. So there are like mga 30 plus categories, and simultaneous yung mga presentation, you just need to look for your, I don't know what they call it, parang igloo number, and then yung presentation hour mo. And of course, kung pansinin nyo, yung mga judge pa na namin, kailangan nyo yung mga judge namin. Si Architect Benji itong nasa left, and then one of the previous winners ng WAF din, together with Sudar, si Architect... Kilala niyo?
Alex,
yeah. Runes, and then Carrie Lam. So there were our judges. Slide. So, and then came in our presentation. But this presentation actually, we'll try to give you a glimpse just so when you guys pass your own presentation and you're starting to do your presentation, you will have an idea on what we did. But of course, we all know that this didn't win. The project that won was from Canada, but it's so much bigger than our scale. And I wish we have pictures as well. Next time, kagaya namin si Architect Bach, ilalagay din namin yung mga other na mga shortlisted projects. Jaemi, okay na ba yung internet mo?
Medyo may lag lang after the shift ng slide.
Okay. So, sige, let's try. You do this. Okay, parang may lag pa rin siya. So, our project...
Go.
Our project, our inspiration is the Buntal Hat. Buntal Hat because that's like during the 1950s, it was the #1 product of Baliwag, kung saan yung Baliwag Convention Center in Tatayo, of course. And we wanted, the local government wanted to bring this back, the Buntal Hat. So there was so much effort to it because before there were like streets filled with buntal hat makers, but now there's none, and they wanted to bring it back. That's why we were part of that movement. Actually, they knew about us because of the book that we did, yung Design Better, if you guys would remember, and it was in Baliwag. That's how they knew about what we do. Kasi kahit sa Bulacan, hindi naman kami sikat, actually. So that's how the mayor knew us. So we were invited to do a presentation for them. But actually, this project, the one that we're showing you already, this is like the fifth, like box, iba ang nangyaring iba, because like any other parang mayor, they wanted to have a convention center that is hotel-like and stuff. So we kind of fought for this one, and this one was actually the form. This was introduced naman by Architect Romel, one of the architects naman sa Alero, Capitolio. So from there, we started. Oh no, okay yata may lag na yan. Sorry. Jaemi, can you see this now?
I can see.
Okay, go.
Check one faster. So this one, as you can see, this is the whole lot for the municipal complex. As the L shape is where the site is. It's Next.
Ano ko ba sinabi?
So after taking it next, we extruded the usable space and created the direct access from the complex. Next. To the irrigation canal. The irrigation canal is at the right side. It passes cooling, it maximizes use, and allows free flow for pedestrian mobility. So para through and through everything, we divided.
I'm kind of guessing yours is.
Yeah, instead of creating 2 huge blocks, we connect the community, making it more permeable. So dagdag din ng additional blocks para mas madaling mag-through and through pedestrian dun sa spaces instead of just 2 big blocks. Different points for the whole space. Next. So,
pwedeng translator mo na lang ako.
Yes, terraces in green and stacks in orange. Go.
Okay, so I'll translate that in layman's terms kasi medyo parang nag-speak robot siya. But the thing is, actually this is parang a new government center for Baliwag. Adjacent to it is the parking lot of SM. That's why we didn't need a parking lot anymore. This big whole block at the top left. Yan is the parking building of SM. So that's where our parking is and naging access natin. What he's trying to say earlier was, as much as possible, we're trying to deconstruct the space because before it used to be like a huge block. The mayor wanted to be like an SMX wherein parang malaki talaga yung magnitude niya and medyo modern just so Baliwag would have that feel of being a modern city, a modern town. But the thing is, since they also have this parang thrust to go back to supporting Bulacan and Baliwag made products, we kind of parang nag-piggyback kami sa idea na yun just so we will get an approval. And then this got shortlisted, that's why it was approved. But before, actually, even before we went to WAF, gusto talaga nila is yung SMX na scheme namin, which dapat pala pinakita namin dito. Next time, we'll show you guys. But the thing is, what Jaemi is trying to say is, as much as possible, we wanted to make it permeable because in Baliwag, we have a lot of vacant land, but we don't have parks. We don't have shade where people can congregate, just like any other town and city in the Philippines, I guess, where everyone goes to SM and dahil malamig at lahat. And now we have this chance to finally create a public space that, you know, is sheltered, is secured, and where anyone can feel safe and at the same time function for meeting people. So what she said earlier was our building has 3 main functions, which we divided into sections then yung building natin. So it ended with the core and then the terraces and the stacks, which will explain later. And tama ba, Jaemi? Okay. No,
so basically where the conference areas are, the terraces is andun yung mga what do you call this? Parang gardens natin. So here,
Jaemi, we're showing the roof now.
Ni pa hot inspiration. Yeah, ni pa inspiration. So angle the roof para ma-follow niya yung. So technically para siyang glorified Cuatro Aguas, yung ginawa nating roof natin. Meron lang siyang different angles for the roofing, but still weather ng Pilipinas. So, yun.
Okay, so and another thing that would be nice to note would be, as much as possible, kasi we're trying to create a humble space, something that's going to be familiar to the locality. Because it's hard to explain, but even SM, some people would not dare go in kasi nakachinela sila, nakashort sila. So this one is a space for the masses, for everyone, for all Baliwageños. So we wanted to create something that's not going to be intimidating and something that's going to be used for the daily lives of these people, because this is for them actually. For this to work, it should be a place where people would comfortably congregate in, and we felt that that is what was lacking. So parang if we go for the modernist style, we felt like it will alienate some parts of the locality. Kasi nga, yun, feeling namin, we don't want it to be parang too proud na magiging alienating and nakakahiyang pasukin para sa iba. So in the end, we ended up, this is the view from the revitalized canal, because
Irrigation
Bulacan.
canal. Yes, from the irrigation canal.
Okay. The revitalized canal. From here, you can see yung different functions and yung different masses namin. The core, which would the core, which is yung multi-purpose space, terraces, viewing platforms, which we'll talk more about later, and then wait, let me just move this. And then the stacks are different training rooms for like livelihood programs and stuff. So for the floor plan, Jaemi, okay ka na ba?
We discussed earlier. Yeah.
Okay. So for the floor plan, just for... go. Here, guys, mag-zoom kayo walay. James, go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we discussed earlier. The blue one is for the main multi-purpose hall where they can gather for the fiestas or for like job fairs, and then the green one is gonna be for where the viewing decks are for the incoming for the processions, and then the orange ones is like for the concessions, wherein it's more for the common areas. Yung sa green one, ay sa orange one. So yun.
Okay, let's go there. And then we did some passive cooling studies.
Yeah.
And then also sun path analyses. Yung mga yan, guys, hindi pinapansin ng judges yan.
Yep.
And then here are some of the views of what we've done. So as you can see, as much as possible, we tried to follow the form of the massing underneath the roofing. So it's like a big shed, basically. We just created some fenestrations and for the hot air to exit and stuff, for the natural light to come in. And we also studied yung sun path direction, like what we showed you earlier. So this is coming in from the drop-off area. As you can see, baka barilin lang ako, pero talagang bahay kubo nasa isip namin dyan.
Yeah, because of the yung mga tukod, haligi.
Yeah, don't kill
We also have rice terraces actually.
Pero we all have all of those there.
And then add pa yung buntalhat.
Yeah, so walking in, actually, this is where the public space would be. Walking in, this is the main entrance of the space. If you go to your left, that would be the core. That's where the multi-purpose convention and events hall is. These are the entrances. And also, it's worth noting na yung mga bricks is one of the main products of Bulacan as well. We get most of our bricks locally dito sa Philippines. It's actually made sa Bulacan. And then walking in, we used yung buntal hat weaving as light diffusers as well. It's just an open space mostly. We also utilize multi-purpose. We also utilize passive cooling because we don't want to rely too much on air conditioning, simply because parang it would patataasin lang niya yung rent if someone would use this space. And as much as possible, we really want this to be an accessible space and a space for the masses. So we also have the Butal Hat Festival. So this can be like the main stage where that can happen now. And then on the right side would be the stacks. Stacks are like a couple of rooms that are stacked over each other. We call it stack simply because yung massing niya would be evident even when you're outside. You can see na there are negative spaces wherein talagang there are just big empty spaces for air to flow through and for light to go in, because as much as possible, we want this area in the middle to become very much welcoming for everyone who wants to just stay there and meet people. So of course, hindi naman nila kilala si Kobonpe at yung presyo niya, kaya nilagay namin sa perspectives. So imagine the cost of that table together with those chairs. And also at the top part of the stacks would be a museum where we can showcase our local artisans. And at the back part are the terraces. If you can remember, I said informed itong project na to with the project that we did for Design Better, simply because Baliwag has the longest procession ng Holy Week. We have 2 processions in a week, and we have 130 plus carriages. Ganun karami. So it's definitely a tradition sa Baliwag. But the thing is, not a lot of tourists can go in simply because we don't have a viewing area for it. Kailangan may kakilala ka para may parkingan ka. Kailangan may kakilala ka na papark lang sa harap, nakaupo ka sa likod ng truck or na ano, tapos kanya-kanya kayong monoblock. This is how we grew up with watching yung parade. So it's quite a personal project. So kaya we know on yung things that we need to deal with. So these are the terraces. During normal days, viewing point lang siya ng ating irrigation canal. And this is also where the Butal Hat Festival parade can be watched from. At the same time, ganun din yung procession. And this would be coming in from the canal. But of course, sa other side ng canal na yan, may mga squatters area pa. Maganda dyan sa perspective. Pero actually, if you go there, like personally now, ganyan talaga itsura niya. And also, during one of our night runs sa Alero, parang we saw yung mga imprinted hands of yung mga sponsors kadalasan, if you would notice, dun sa mga schools kadalasan. And we realized na since this is a place for artisans, why not parang bring them back the honor, especially yung mga unsung heroes ng ating industry like construction workers, painters, mga carpenters. So instead of putting in the mayor's name, we're putting in yung mga buntal hat weavers, your handprints sila, because this is a place for them and this is a place built by them. That's why we're giving back the honor to them. And then came in yung, what's this? And then came in, after that, of course, we didn't win, as you all know. So 2019, a lot of projects came in. So what I'm saying is, even if you don't win, sulit yung WAF experiences, because these people knew us about the publications, about yung mga newspaper then who wrote about us. All of these projects, we don't know them personally, pero sila yung nag-inquire because they saw us somewhere. So all of that, I output nung WAF shortlist lang. Yung shortlist period was quite long. So it was a nice time for us to market ourselves, and you know, it's as if we won na nga already with everything that we got dun sa support ng mga other people dun sa industry natin, architects, interior designers, artisans. We felt like we won already and worth it na. We were in the magazine already, kahit shortlisted lang. And then came in 2020, the pandemic happened, so everything was placed on hold. Yun nga, yung project was placed on hold. It was supposed to start this year. It was supposed to be a big milestone for everyone in the team, but the thing is, shit happens. So here we are now. So instead, we'll be starting a book, Alero monograph, chronicling our 5-year journey to get to where we are now, and just to celebrate just being part of the industry. That's all for me. You, James.
Good.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Jared, you're on mute.
Yeah, nakamute.
Yeah.
Hello.
So
Can you hear
much.
me?
Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh, yeah.
much. Thank you so much, Jesy and Architect Jaemi. Yeah, what I really like about the presentation, particularly with your entry to the WAF, is yung may handprints. Parang ano yun, parang it is very true to the nature and the program of the building na involving the community. So parang I really like yung being sensitive to that aspect of the project. No? Thank you so much.
But not everyone like that, ah. Tawag nila doon MK moment namin. So yun, just for you guys to know, yun, parang that had a lot of criticisms kasi parang yun nga, parang yun, basta medyo polarized yung naging reaction regarding that.
Yeah, I have some questions. Yung Alero, the name Alero, what is it about? Saan yung anong ibig sabihin niya?
Go ahead,
parang,
James.
yeah.
Alero, actually, ano siya, it's a vernacular term of a roof eaves.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi since our dad is a civil engineer, kapag nagde-design kami lagi niya tinatanong kung gaano kalaki. Lagi niyang concern yung roof eaves, kung malaki ba siya, malalim ba siya, ganyan. So parang kapag nagde-design kami, always namin naiisip na dapat maayos yung roof eaves natin. So when we were deciding on what's gonna be the name ng company, we didn't want Cruz kasi masyadong common yung last name namin, which is Cruz. So came Alero, which is the vernacular term for things nga.
Oh, okay.
Plus letter A siya. So sabi ko, kailangan letter A yung salita
Letter
natin
A.
para pag ililista tayo, unang-una nakasulat Aero Design Studio. Plus, ito nagsusal pa. So everyone's asking if our last name is Alero. But the thing is, it's just, yun, parang we're just being reminded for that kasi makulit siya na parati siyang takot sa init. Civil engineer siya.
Okay. Thank you so much. So ngayon meron tayong A to Z, di ba? Alero and Zubu.
Oh, yeah.
Oo, A to Z wala. Tapos pala yun ang title natin, A to Z.
A to Z.
Cooks, you have a question?
I have a question. When and how did you say na you would want to enter your project sa WAF? Because knowing that you have a very young firm of just 5 years, di ba?
Actually, parang 3 years pa lang kami noon. Tama, 3 years lang.
Yeah.
20.
When
yes.
and how did you say na, we have to try this out for WAF, di ba?
When we were
Including
invited.
the idea that you have to pay to have your subdivision be registered.
Yeah.
And as a young firm, di ba, even ako, I have my firm is very young, even though wala pa kaming employees, I would know on the financial side. It's really something to spend on. But other than that na question, gusto ko rin mag-comment yung, I would think, kasi di ba parang meron ng notion na bahay kubo is such a used
cliche,
concept all the time, di ba? I think it would have been okay kung wala si Architect Benji sa panels ng jurors nyo. Kasi
grabe.
If it's foreigners, di ba, hindi naman nila alam yung nangyayari dito na.
Actually, two Filipinos ang nasa board namin eh. Medyo Filipino lang pala si
Filipino at heart.
So, dun sa may WAF, if, di ba, if hindi walang Filipino dun sa board, yung bahay kubo concept, that seems clever kasi their Western history of their architectural history, iba naman sa architectural history sa atin dito sa Philippines, di ba? But just so happen na naging si Architect Benji, which already knows this idea na a used and abused concept ang bahay kubo. So I think medyo na gano'n lang dun sa may part na yun na it would have been nice then na probably if iba yung juror nyo. I wouldn't say na siya yung nagbigay ng no vote, but it would have been, di ba, parang something else na iba kasi yung point of view ng outsider sa architecture natin versus tayo dito na we have our own set of criticism about that thought na, oh, it's another quote-unquote manyosa direction, manyosa is, di ba? Parang ganun. So yun yung question ko. How did you know and when did you say na you wanted to this specific project to go as my WAF MP or WAF MP, yun, Alero's WAF MP?
Yeah, for your first question, like what I mentioned before, medyo mahilig talaga, ever since college, medyo competitive ako. So we always join design competitions. Like for example, yung Blueprint, they had a design competition before, parang
yung Avid.
Avid. I joined 3 of those, finalists sa 3. We nanalo tayo sa isa, parang sa furniture. Pero actually, finalist doon sa Modern Museum, parang may Modern Art Museum si Avid before eh.
Yeah, Avid.
So, even when I was in college, before sumasali na kami doon. So, I think there was just an inclination for us to join this one, just to try it out, try our luck out. So, yun, it worked naman. We got on dun sa shortlist. And then dun sa next naman, I don't know. Actually, parang Architect Benji has been a big part of why we were able to get to be shortlisted, simply because we watched his presentation siguro more than 100 times. And tinignan talaga namin isa-isa ang laman ng mga presentation na yan. So, I want to know. And also, in all our mock presentations together with Lixil and Grohe, he's always been there giving us parang questions and how we can make our presentation better. So definitely, he's more of instrumental for us to get there sa final presentation namin. So I would say na nakatulong na he was there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have a question, Gerard, before we go to the audience, if there's any question.
Okay.
First, a reaction on both presentations. I mean, firstly, Buck, of course, it's no surprise that the output that you showed is of high quality because, you've been espousing for design leadership, excellence, and really being critical about all aspects of the architecture, including the details and so on. And of course, that really showed in your work and in your presentation today. I enjoyed most especially going into the details because that's something that I guess we never saw, right, with the limited time that's always been given to you in the previous presentations that I've been witness to. Regarding Jesy and Jaemi's presentation, of course, I have to commend you both also for just applying a relentless grit. Even if you shared that you were really discouraged with the critiques of our colleagues, that you kept at it, that you didn't give up. And I noticed also that in the presentation, you improved a lot of your renderings, you shortened a lot of the output and really optimized it for the world stage, right? So that's my reaction. But going into the question, I have 2 for both of you, actually. The first one is, why do you think you were shortlisted? So what about the design and your entry was the reason for you being selected as one of the shortlisted entries? And number 2, being on the world stage with our colleagues globally, where do you think we are as a design industry compared to the world stage? I mean, as far as progress is concerned, and how much more do you think we need to work on ourselves to be at par if we are not at par just yet? Yeah, so whoever wants to chime in. 2 questions.
Jesy, ikaw, ako.
Sige, ako na muna kasi alam ko na yung sagot mo, matindi eh. So, I think what made our entry special was, and even for us, I think we remained true to our values, to our core, and the purpose of the building. We wanted it to become a space for the masses, it to become accessible for everyone. Everything was just aesthetics after thinking kung ano yung purpose niya eh. So I think we've been true to that, and we really felt that this building can really help change lives. And I think lumabas yung passion namin when we did the boards on the details that we did with the presentation that we're doing. It's really part of our vision to uplift the lives of the people who are going to use this when it comes to their livelihood, when it comes to having dignity that they built something like this, or when it comes to having pride that this is actually something locally made with the local materials that they supplied. So that was our thrust. That is what fueled us, even when it was hard to move forward from all the comments that we received before, but it only made our presentation better. But I think the main factor for us was, we remained true to ourselves in the purpose of this building and how we can change lives with it. Jaemi.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
go ahead, Jaemi.
Actually, yes, we basically focused on the culture. We showcase the culture talaga ng Philippines, ng Baliwag. So I think that's one of na nag-touch dun sa, I don't know, hearts. MMK moments nila. So we think possible din yun. And then dun sa second question mo asking kung
where we are.
If where we are in the architecture world. Actually, after we presented and then after we watched everyone present during that time, we were like, we are not that far off against others. But how we present, how we think, how we create our designs, it's basically how they think. Parang medyo kahit paano may laban ng Pilipinas. We just have to be more vocal with our designs. We just have to show them meron tayong capabilities when it comes to architecture, not just the foreign ones, not just the Western ones. So yun.
Yeah, actually when we were there, yun yung feeling eh. Parang may laban naman tayo. Okay yung presentation natin. Okay yung mga presentation nila Bak. Feeling namin parati may mananalo sa amin. I think it's more of yung baka mag-tending ko. I think it's more of yung support ng mga designs natin eh. We should be more, like for example, when Architect Buck was doing his presentation, ang tanong ko kaagad when he was doing bamboo is, sino nag-design yan? Paano ginagawa yan at lahat? So when it comes to detailing, I think tama si Architect Buck. Yun dapat yung maging core natin na tingin ko na value when it comes to designing. Kasi in the end, pag gagawin yung working drawing and yung buildability and kilala mo yung mga contractors around you, kakabahan ka na agad. Pag ganun yung mindset, I think yun yung nagiging bottleneck natin when it comes to parang designing.
Yeah. And I think the key message here is that I do agree that we can compete, right? We just need a little bit of courage to put ourselves out there and go beyond that mentality of the small. That a lot of us are usually, we have an inferiority complex as I guess a culture which we hope to, I guess, fight against. We need to go beyond that so that we can really flourish, and blossom as designers. And I do agree also with your first statement na naging totoo lang kayo. I mean, you were just true to the purpose and everything just followed. And I think even with the design that you showcased, it was just a reflection of you guys. You were real and authentic about expressing your idea. Bob?
Hey, we feel that it was an excellent work. There are risks to it, okay? It doesn't have to be always guaranteed to go about, if it gets shortlisted or not.
Right.
We felt that it was quite genuine. Even with all the backstory now, with all the collaboration, whatever hardships. Admittedly, all those narratives in terms of the back end does not really matter. They don't want to hear those drama stories now. But at the end of the day, what's very crucial is, did we put an idea forward that's quite authentic? And I think they see it. Quite innovative, probably. Quite nostalgic. There's something that you have to drive in terms of the narrative. And if you can pull off that idea into your essence, as I mentioned in our philosophy, the essence, or how you pull that off, at the end of the game, because juries, who was shortlisted, I don't know how it works, but I think the juries in the judging panel is not necessarily the one that shortlists you. There might be another
Yeah,
panel.
actually, different group yung
That's
nag-shortlist dun sa
They would
magiging
probably
panel
see
mismo.
what it is. No, you wouldn't really know. That's why sometimes as well in every competition or competition, juries still really do matter. So the good thing about the WAF, at least, as much as actually it's why it's capitalistic. I mean, you have a huge investment that you have to pour in. You would actually see that there's no bias naman talaga for the jury, which is a good thing. They really get full of experts, full of colleagues. Just like, of course, Benji was part of that, who would be able to judge not by race, as I may react with Cooks now regarding, let's say, for Jesy, Alero, and Baad as the jury, not by race, but really based on genuine narratives and how you really pull it off, either by innovation and certain message. So another thing when you want to enter this, and that was one thing I did. Example, I've entered Koryasu for another competition. It didn't get shortlisted. So there's actually some things that you wouldn't really. There's really still by chance. You wouldn't really know it's always foolproof. I wouldn't. I have. It's not guaranteed all the time. So there's that risk. It's sometimes strategic. Like I know it was excellent work. I know it was religious architecture. You look at the numbers. Sometimes you might have a better chance. I mean, sometimes it's strategic. You can look into that. No, if you really do good houses as well, and if you really want to pull that in as well as one of those projects, go ahead. Or for this sake, for Alero, or probably some for our other fellow colleagues, I think there was some strategy as well, especially when there's really money involved. So there's something that you can, you have to put into play. But these are all risks. That's why it's called an investment. So there's risk involved and there's a reward involving there. Moving forward for the Philippines, I would always like to pose the challenge of improving our median. Therefore, whoever is our average designer or average architect has to be as good as we want someone to be. Exemplary, sure. But there has to be that median, again, going back to excellence, that median has to go up. And the only way for it to go up is probably, yes, articulation, countless practice of that, countless practice of ideas generation, which may have yet be, again, a challenge, just like Foundree or traditional educational institutions, or probably even institutions like, we are still an institution, a studio, a firm, still an institution. We still have espouse specific teaching, specific teaching. When we have to have that level of understanding na, to really say now, what do we want to provide as an idea to help, especially probably clients. It doesn't always have to be, let's say, satisfying the client lang. I mean, I'm always espousing these. Parang this is my homely all the time, and that's the only way I feel that you see that level of understanding in terms of sensibilities for architecture to really flourish, to improve. I've seen it in our fellow neighbors. Example, I've been to Indonesia. I've seen student works. Admittedly, if I critique, there are certain things I could still see that they have improved a little bit their sensibilities rather than probably our compatriots here in the Philippines. So that's my critique again, and my challenge to us fellow colleagues. But as much as that, I still celebrate that our trajectory is actually going up, guys. That I would definitely say. We are far better off now in our state of architecture than even 5 years ago or 3 years ago. Believe me, guys, I've seen it. That's why exemplary work like Alero, our future colleagues, even student works. I mean, right now, I've seen it. It's not always all about corny stuff na lang, no? Parang there's meat to it na. So we'll get there, guys, and it's also, you'd also see it with, of course, our fellow colleagues. Another thing probably is what we have to do explicitly documentation of works. I think we don't really put it out there, our works, for people to critique. That's the beauty of Alero because they put themselves out there.
Makapal lang mukha.
I do it. So, and that's what I've also experienced as well with my fellow my projects and even internal critiques with your studio or even to the client. That's it, man.
Definitely exciting times. I agree. Exciting times for the industry. No, architecture. A lot of firms popping up. Interior design firms popping up, and I think what Foundree is also trying to do is to realign, right, with that with this era of excitement by creating conversations like this. Because like what we're talking about now, this is where real learning happens. Is when you bounce off ideas, when you converse about particular topics. And for all of you guys who are watching out there, I encourage you guys to invite your friends over so that we can have a more critical discussion. We can learn from experts and people who have been there on the world stage, like Buck and Jesy as well. Yeah. So Gerard.
Yes.
Hey.
Hi, sir.
Ems.
Sir, I would read the question after, pero I would agree with everyone that I encourage our young professionals here to put yourselves out there. In ideation, there is a phrase na quantity is king. Na parang i-exhaust mo lahat ng ideas mo para maubos lahat ng surface level. Superficial ideas. And then doon lalabas yung mas malalim at mas meaty na ideas after. And then yun nga, be open to criticisms, put yourselves out there kasi marketing din yun, and then you would improve. There is a question here from Yanni Belendez. What design philosophies, I believe this was for Buck, what design philosophies were applied as you collaborated with others in your projects? And if I may add to it, because I believe design philosophies are deep-seated, na hindi mo siya, parang hindi ka magpipick among design philosophies kasi it's part of you. Hanggang ano yung extent that you allow your philosophies to be siguro bent a little bit, most especially when you are collaborating with other people?
Oh, okay. Collaboration. Collaborations everywhere, actually, no. The most notable lang is actually really just this with Kenneth. When you talk about design philosophies, and it goes from surface level, as mentioned by Ems, all the way to a little bit higher sense. Probably as you grow, as you age, as you get more experience, you kind of find that this is no longer about stylistic aspects. You also, and so when you practice, when I started practicing, I was naively saying that modernism or bust, modern architecture or bust, which is still hold true. But when I was enamored why modern architecture is what I want to do, it is actually still geared towards what it excites me. It's still about that experimentation. I love the experimentation. I love finding ways. I love finding things that I have not tried. That gears me towards working towards to progress our projects. So it's very crucial in our manifesto in terms of respecting the past, the lineage of architecture that we have to respect. There was that aspect of to challenge the status quo, which is, of course, it doesn't always have to be the status quo of other people. It can even be what I've done before. What can I do more? Or what have I learned with my fellow colleagues, per se, for other professionals, or let's say my fellow architects? What did I learn from them? Still quite lineage. Then what can I contribute to, to see how can it make it my own? So these are things that goes around my head. And it's guided by what I said, as I mentioned, with agenda and essence, where we provided that agenda. And again, agenda based on the values that I mentioned, let's say innovation, challenging the status quo? Are we a great integrator? I love being an educator as well. How do you want to mentor or teach? Is also still values that I hold dear. This, in a way, becomes my guiding principles. So for the sense of the side of even collaboration, let's say, can I credit that it's all my design for Jesu? No. As I mentioned, that the Jesu was already a lot of a brainchild of a concept of Kenneth. But in terms of innovation there, we had a lot of question marks. How do we get there? So those were the things of the journey that was crucial in terms of that design philosophy. Because design philosophy does not necessarily mean it's an aesthetic. And that probably, I think, along the way, when you are more experienced, you actually kind of outgrow and, you know, mature yourself. Just like as we are in our stage, when we reach to a level, probably, if we keep on innovating and keep having this mindset, 10 years from now, probably, believe me, guys, the manifesto again will probably also evolve and change. So that's the beauty of that mindset, you know. So that's my answer for that, Ems, and for Yanni.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I believe na parang tumatanda na rin tayo, that as you grow older, you find the whys of your own whys.
Yes.
So parang mas naiintindihan mo yung deep-seated truths of what you believe in.
Yes.
So yun yung you hang on to that, hindi yung surface level.
The only compromise, I didn't answer you, Ems, was the only compromise where do I bend to the client is at least I only bend to the point that is my minimum standard in terms of the stylistic. Meaning I went back to my younger age na, sige, modernist. There are clients actually that really actually tell me, don't go overboard baka. I really want this lang ganito. So I sometimes along the way, and sometimes I still have a few clients that will probably, very seldom, I will not claim it, but there are that will show you a Pinterest image, right? So, that's where your intellect and your critical knowledge and stock knowledge will come into play. When you tell them, so this is why, so we're going back to why ends, right? So this is why you like this house pala. So we kind of explain and understand to them na, ito pala yung essence, again, essence. So I always take out all the unnecessary things, at least, you know, to gear them away na, hindi, don't let me follow, please. It will destroy my soul. But those are the things that, at least at the minimum standards, it has to be modernist. But inside me sometimes, guys, it's a battle. Kasi, what am I doing? Am I progressing pa or not? So there's always that intrinsic battle in me if I'm progressing my practice or myself. So that's something in your head all the time. That's beautiful. That makes you crazy. so yun.
Okay, pag when deciphering what the clients want, most especially, nagiging psychologist na rin tayo.
Yes, exactly.
I-regress mo sila on why they want that specific design, for example.
Yes, yeah.
Tackle that. Yeah. Thank you, Buck. Thank you, right?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a question because some of our participants, nako wala ano na po no, parang hindi pa po sila nagsusulat ng questions natin. But I have a question for both speakers. With your interaction with the youth, yung next generation, what do you think do they need? Just for example, what do they need to cultivate, their mindset or their skills that can prepare them who are aspiring to be in the world stage?
Okay. I think for us it's easier now because some people tried before us. Like for example, sila architect Box, and then sila Buensalido+Architects. So I think they started, for me, you guys started the revolution for our generation. So it was easy for us. Parang it was easier for other people to understand what we're doing simply because you guys were there first. So it was a bit easier for us. So I think it's more of progression, and like what Box said, lineage. Now you guys need to start somewhere. Tas may seed pala nag-aano, like for example yung book na Buensalido na nag-inspire sa Alero of what it is right now. That's why we're actually doing a book. Ganun din yung sa amin because we were so much inspired with this, guys. And I think it starts from there. So one courageous act, I think, from one person na going out of the norm, I think. And from there, padami na padami, paingay yung boses hanggang it's so loud na hindi na pwedeng hindi marinig ng iba. I think that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I agree with you. There was really a specific thing that I would like to take credit that we did some responsibility. So,
yeah.
But that's how it is to progress. There were also a previous generation that we were so inspired that wow.
Na-inspire kayo sa Mediterranean architecture. Medyo yellow dito, ganun. Red dito sa kabila.
It is actually some kind of an agenda for me as well. Personally, there was a hero complex for me to say, I want to save architecture from the doldrums, you know? So I had that mentality as well. And you basically inspire other people aside from them working here, and they exponentially grow. And of course, inspire fellow colleagues just like you, Jesy and Jaemi, and countless more. You know? And from there, we move on. One thing I'd like to advise lang, the youth of the nation, Jared. So one thing I'd like to advise lang right now is, and as much as that they are much more learned, believe me, they have much more knowledge right now. Okay, there's really still something about building true foundation. Okay, and I would always tell this to a lot of my staff and studios. We didn't start this way, guys. We didn't start to have a golden hand, sketching, designing very well, detailing. We didn't start it this way. This was not a magic pill that we took. It was hours and countless hours of training and really putting it out that we want to be really good. But if you really want to be good, you have to put the work. There was so much work that we did to sacrifice, to really do some more, to learn from mentors, to learn from detailing, how to really get through it, to learn coordinations, to learn politics of the office, to learn the politics of the construction, to learn about design philosophy. So these were really put up with habits, good habits.
Mm-hmm.
So good habits like, I'll tell you guys, for example, when I was an intern, I was mentored by Alex, but Alex didn't spoon feed me to give me again, di ba? O sige, you get an injection, you'll be a modernista. No? So I would have a lunch, every lunch break, I would read a book every day. And it's intrinsically inside me already. And that's what I advise as well in terms of my staff or my associates when we have design explorations and design schemes, and sometimes they get stuck. And I tell them, sometimes when you produce your own stock knowledge, when you did your own study, not on that necessarily on that specific timeline, you'll actually be rewarded later on when you do your own homework early on, even if you don't know if it's going to be used or not. So those are the things that I really want to really put it out there. Another thing that I'd like to critique the youth, another critique lang, is I had a UAPGA event here. They invited us to speak here in Cebu. And they wanted me to speak about design and everything. I gave the opportunity just like for my associates to present. And I told them, what are you proud of for Zubu DA? It's like the amount of details and attention that we do. So, okay, present it. Show to the UAPGA attendees, which of course, admittedly, sometimes you're not there to work right away and you're doing the designs or you're calling the shots, okay? You're actually doing the dirty work, okay, of the office, of the studio. Well, we were presenting all these. Believe me, guys, the reaction was not sometimes of inspiration, but of intimidation. They are so down to say, I cannot do that. I will not do that. Are you going to do that? Are you sure you're going to do 200 pages of detailing? No, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. How do you want to get paid? You want to get paid chump change? Then don't do it. That's it. You have to do the work. But I've seen so many people get intimidated and does not have the confidence to say that I cannot do it. In fact, everyone here, including Jason and I, Gerard, etc., who are a little bit more experienced, we came from college. We didn't know, again, how to detail connection detail, no? So it's a matter of really doing your homework. That's it for me, Gerard.
Okay, thank you so much. Very insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I also believe that we can do great things with a simple step. No, so be consistent with it, no, forming our habit. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, architects. I really believe that everyone learned a lot today. Thank you so much for attending the SPArX. And thank you so much, Architect Box Hia of Zubu, and also Jesy, and also Architect Jaemi of Alero Designs, and all our architects mentors in Foundree. Thank you so much for attending the SPArX.